fold, 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 raise, call, bet, fold, raise, fold, call, fold, raise, fold, 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 call, call, check, 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 bet, call, call, check, check, all in, fold, 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 fold. Call, check, bet, call, check, bet, call, check, all in, fold, 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 fold. Fold, 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 raise, fold, 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 raise, all in, raise, fold, 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 Fold. Raise. Fold. Fold.
What is up, guys? My name is Lex. Welcome back to the vlog. Starting off this session 2-5 at the beautiful Win Poker Room. There's 3 limps to me in the big blind. I have ace queen. I bump it up to 30 and every single one of the limpers make the call. We go to the flop 4 ways. Jack, 8, 4, rainbow. I decide to check and the action checks all the way around. Queen of diamonds giving us top pair, top kicker, small blind checks. I bet $60. The other 2 players fold and the small blind decides to see a river. So now we're heads up to the last card, which is the 7 of diamonds. He instantly checks it over to me and I decided to just take this one to showdown and check this one back. I checked back this river not because I was scared of the flush, but because they were calling a new 5-10 must move game and I wanted to secure one of the end seats, which is the best viewpoint for the vlog. I just left my chips basically sitting here, which is kind of funny. I ran over there and secured seat number 3. We end up buying in for $3,000 sitting down in a new 5-10 game. I definitely have less than average size stack here, buying in for $3,000. First hand, there's an under the gun raise to 40, a cutoff call. I have pocket 5s on the button and we are going to set mine here. So I make the call, the big blind makes the call as well. We're searching for a red 5, which is what the dealer gives us. Ace, queen, 5, 2 hearts, we make a set. Under the gun, C bets here for $60. The cutoff pretty quickly calls $60 and I feel like this is a spot I should be putting in a raise with bottom set. I can get a lot of value from top pair holding, some flush draws and straight draws. I obviously don't want to see any jacks, maybe 10s. Or hearts on the turn, giving my opponents flushes or straights, so I bump this one up here to $270. Big blind folds. Under the gun looks over at my stack. She started the hand with $5,000. This could be a massive pot if she has a big hand like ace king or ace queen. Obviously, I have a little bit of monsters under the bed syndrome from all the bad run I've had in Texas. I'm a little fearful that she could have queens or aces, but if that's the case, we're just going to lose our stack. We raise it up. She makes the call and the cutoff makes the fold. Heads up, 7 of diamonds. Shouldn't change anything at all. Her likely hands when she calls my raise out of position is ace king, ace queen, or ace jack. Possibly some big combo draws like king 10 of hearts or king jack of hearts. So when she checks it over to me, I feel like this is a good spot to bet almost the size of the pot so that I can have an easy river shove depending on what comes out. I take my time and assemble out a bet of $620 with my bottom set. This will allow me to shove basically any river for around a pot size bet. She goes into the tank forever. And looking back against this particular player, I think I could be betting a lot smaller on this turn card. I want to keep her in there with all of her hands like ace 10, ace jack, and ace king. When I bet this sizing, I'm basically only targeting her 2 pairs like ace queen. So looking back, I think a smaller bet would be good. And unfortunately, she thinks the same thing. She ends up letting this one go. We take down this pot. We have been in Vegas now for about 5 days, and so far we have been running hot, making sets, flushes, coolering people, and it feels good after running so bad in Texas to finally be on the right side of variance. A few hands go by before we look down at ace king in middle position. There's a tighter player opening up under the gun. I decide to flat call here, looking to trap sometimes with this hand. 4 ways to an ace-side board. It checks over to me. I put out a bet of $110. Everybody folds and we take down our 3rd pot of the night. Next up, under the gun $20 straddle, a call. I'm in the hijack position with 9-10 of hearts. I don't want to just call here. I want to take the aggressive route, so I bump it up to $120. Unfortunately, nobody wants to play with me. Everybody folds, which seems like a trend on this table. It's been playing pretty tight so far. In this one, there's an under the gun raise to 30 by an unknown player. He had been playing on the tighter side, so when I have ace-10 of clubs next to act, I feel like this is a spot I should be 3-betting or folding in a pretty aggressive game, so I bump it up to $110 looking to isolate. However, the button comes along with a cold call, and the under the gun player makes the fold. Heads up to a 10 high board, making top pair, top kicker, in a 3-bet pot. I continue for $140, and the button is not scared. He matches my bet going to the turn, which is the 9 of diamonds, which is kind of a sketchy card. At these higher level games, there's a lot of leveling going on between a couple thinking players, so whenever I 3-bet and under the gun open, I'm most likely going to have jacks, queens, kings, aces, ace king, and ace queen, and my opponent understands that as well, so he can see that this board definitely favors his cards more than it can favor mine. If I 3-bet those kind of hands, I basically can only have one pair on this board. However, he can have all the strong hands, he can have sets, 2 pairs, and straights, so I check it over to him kind of as a mix between pot controlling and also allow him to bluff or maybe even overvalue bet a worse hand. The button does decide to bet, and a pretty sizable one at that. $380 going to the middle here. Obviously, I'm not too in love with this spot facing this sizing on this board, but I have top pair, top kicker. I cannot fold. I make the call, looking to evaluate here on the river. $1,300 in the middle to the 5th card, which is the 5 of clubs. Seems like a pretty big brick to me. I check it over to him, and he instantly checks back, shows king 9 for a pair of 9s. That is not going to beat our 10. We show our hand, and it is good to take down a pretty big pot here. 4 for 4 on the session. I told myself before I came to Vegas, I don't just want to sit and grind out a bad 5-10 game. This game has been playing pretty tight, not too much action, so I feel like there's a lot better games I could find on a Saturday night, so I end up racking up my chips, heading to the cage and cashing out, but we're not done yet. We're moving on to a new location.
Bet.
We wait over an hour to get in the game, but this game looks much better. A ton of action going on so far. A bunch of all-in pots. First hand we have here, we have pocket 6s. There's a raise to 30. We end up making the call 4 ways to the flop, which comes out 10, 7, 6, 2 hearts, flopping bottom set for the 2nd time in one night. Out of position, I check, and the action checks all the way around. Deuce of clubs on the turn, now bringing 2 flush draws. I lead out for $110. Nobody wants to play with me. They all make the fold, and the chips get pushed in our direction. Somewhat of an interesting hand here when the hijack makes it 30. Button calls, small blind calls. I call with 8, 9 of hearts in the big blind. 4 ways to a king 8 deuce board. We flop middle pair, backdoor flush draw. I check. The initial raiser checks, and now the button puts out a bet of $50. Small blind snap calls. The action's back on me. I don't really want to fold here. I don't really want to call either. So I decide to do something a little bit weird and put in a raise. I bump it to $220. I'm not really sure what I'm doing here. I'm not sure if I'm raising for value or raising for a bluff, but at the time I just had a live read that the button wasn't very strong, and the small blind had been playing a ton of hands, so he can basically have anything here. If I do get called and then brick on the turn and don't pick up any extra equity, I may just give up and check. However, it doesn't come to that. The button ends up letting his hand go. Small blind insta folds. We take down another pot. In this next hand, I end up losing $170 when I ISO raise over a limp with jack 9 of spades to $50. End up getting 2 callers. I flop bottom pair and a gut shot. I call 1 bet on the turn and end up bricking and folding on the river. The next hand here, I have ace 8 of diamonds. I also ISO raise and completely missed a flop, losing about $50 in that hand as well. Enough with the losing hands. Let's get back to our winning ways. We have king queen offsuit. Button makes it 30. Small blind calls. I just make the call. I think I could be 3-betting here sometimes, but I'm okay with just playing a single raise pot with 2 players who have very wide ranges pre-flop, looking to mix it up. We flop top 2 pair, which is great for us. Checks to me. I check, and the button checks behind. Turn 9 of diamonds, not the best card, brings in a straight and a flush, but when it checks to me, I feel like against these players, I can bet pretty big here, given the fact that they won't be folding any diamond like ace x of diamonds, jack x of diamonds, or king x of diamonds, so I make it $100. Button calls, small blind folds, so we're heads up now to the river, which is the king of hearts, giving us a full house. Man, It feels good to run good and make some hands. We have the best hand possible now. What should we bet? I think about maybe over betting the size of the pot, but given this action against this player, I don't think that's the best line. Then I think about maybe betting super tiny to induce a bluff, but ultimately I decide on a $210 bet, 70% of the pot, really trying to squeak out value from his queen X, jacks, or tens, but he ends up letting this one go. The dealer awards us the pot. A very fun hand next when it folds all the way to me. I look down at ace queen of clubs, make it $30. The big blind seems like a pretty splashy player looking to get in there. He makes the call, heads up to ace 3-3. I check and he checks back. The turn is the king of clubs, now giving us top pair and the nut flush draw. I check for a few reasons. One, because I have the board completely crushed. I want to allow him to catch up with some worse hands like a pair, maybe straight draws or flush draws. Also, by checking, I can maybe induce him to bluff on the flop, turn, or river. However, he doesn't bet. The turn king of clubs, I bet $50 now. He makes the call, river, 9 of clubs. We make the nut flush, one of the best hands possible. The board is paired, but given the fact that he didn't 3-bet me pre-flop, I don't think he's going to have many hands that are beating me. Just last hand, I contemplated betting super small on the river to induce a bluff. I didn't think it was the best option that time, but in this hand, I feel like it's good. I can bet small here and maybe have him hero call me with a king, or he might think it's a weak bet and put in a raise, which is exactly what happens. I bet $60 and he instantly raises me up to $200. After he makes this bet, I slowly glance over at his stack. He has $800 behind. If he had something like $3,000 behind, I may consider just making the call just because I wouldn't want to get re-raised here and be in a super nasty spot. But given the fact that he only has $800, I think the best play here is to go all in. Obviously, we are losing to some full houses, ace 3 and maybe pocket 9s. But given the fact that he didn't 3-bet pre-flop, he shouldn't have aces or kings. So I feel pretty comfortable 3-bet jamming on this river for max value against weaker flushes or maybe a slow played 3. When I go all in here for his entire stack, I was actually expecting him to just snap fold because I was pretty sure he was bluffing. However, he goes into the tank forever, like 2.5 minutes, keeps looking back at his cards, counting out his chips, looking over at me, trying to get a read. I'm just trying to stay stoic, look at the board, trying not to give everything away. At first, I think he's going to fold, then I think he's going to call, then he looks like he's going to fold, then he looks like he's going to call, and eventually, after 2.5 minutes of thinking, he decides to let this one go. With all the hours I played in Vegas at 510, I've noticed that these games are obviously tighter than some of the other 510 games in the country. Players usually tend to overfold more than they tend to overcall, which is not great when you do make value hands, but it's good when you're bluffing. However, we cannot complain. We end up profiting at 2 locations for the night. Shortly after this, the game ends up breaking. We end up racking up our chips, heading to the cage, and cashing out for the night. All right, guys. Got a little toothpick here. That is it for this one. Playing at the Wynn and Venetian tonight. There's a lot of pluses and minuses behind playing poker in Vegas. The plus is that there is a ton of rooms to choose from. The minus is that sometimes you have to walk a long distance, wait in line, and then have to try to get on the table, and sometimes it takes forever. But I really do like being able to go from poker room to poker room if the game is bad. If I'm in another place like Texas or Hard Rock and the game is bad, I basically just have to suck it up and either play that game or go home. So I can just walk 15 minutes down the road to Venetian here and playing a pretty good 510. Ended up making a little over $1,200 tonight. Upswing is definitely in swing, up over $11,000 now. I feel like there's a big difference, obviously, between the Vegas games and the Texas games. And obviously, Texas is super loosey-goosey, going like 4 or 5 ways to every single flop. But in Vegas, it's more like heads-up play or like 3 ways. And I feel much better when it's like heads-up or 3 ways. I feel like I can get some more bluffs through. Like pre-flop, I can do some more 3-betting and bluffing pre-flop. And I just feel better in these games. Obviously, Texas games are great with a ton of action, but it's just a different style. I feel like that goes well there, and I feel like my style fits better for kind of more of a tighter passive game. So it could just be that I am running super hot, flopping sets, making flushes. That could be it as well. But we've been in Vegas now for about a week. Things are going good. We have about 4 days left, then we're heading
Fold.
We're in the dark, it's getting late. I really should go, he's waiting for me. We both know it's not what it seems. We both know what's between the sheets. I know that it's a secret and that I gotta keep it, but I want the lights on, yeah, I want the lights on, and I don't wanna run away anymore. Leave the lights on, leave the lights on, leave the lights on. What would they say? What would they do? Would it be trouble if they knew? I'm trying hard to make you see.
Call.
All that you want is all I need. I know that it's a secret and that I gotta keep it, but I want the lights on, yeah, I want the lights on, and I don't wanna run away anymore. Leave the lights on, leave the lights on. I know that it's a secret and that I gotta keep it, but I want the lights on, yeah, I want the lights on, and I don't wanna run away anymore. Leave the lights on, leave the lights on, leave the lights on.
Today you have to win for one reason. We have to win for David Silva and his girlfriend, Jessica. He's suffering the life. When you go out there and you enjoy for him. And we don't go out there and we suffer for him. And remember the situation. Today I want the win for David Silva and his girlfriend and his family. Is that clear? Yeah.
De Bruyne, Sané's on his way to the middle, Sterling's already in there.
É o golo da Sérvia, Aleksandar Mitrovic a marcar. Agora que estamos na etapa final do jogo, 89. Já não há prémio, a Sérvia qualifica-se para o Campeonato do Mundo de Futebol. Portugal vai ter de ir a um play-off, tinha tudo a favor da seleção nacional, não tudo.
raise. Call. Bet. Call.
Paris Saint-Germain have contributed not just tonight but all the way through in this Champions League season. They're a team of so much talent.
To the pace of France, getting robbed to the ball just like Ronaldo was there.
And it stayed down to Mark Clattenburg. Saw nothing wrong and France play on. And now Fernando Santos Silva, but Guerrero couldn't quite get there. Stood away from him by Sagna.